Good afternoon. What's going on? Good afternoon. Okay, there it goes. It was like okay, let's get going. Let's get going. Hi, everyone. It took forever for Instagram to start this. Sorry for being a minute late. Yes, yes, yes. Uh, Little Debo was walking very, very slowly on his walk. I'm so excited to speak with Antje. Let's see. I'm going to invite you up. Here it is, which is really good. Oh, Joanna, your birthday is on Sunday. Oh, fantastic. Mm. Hi, how are you?
Hi.
Sorry,
Hi.
something was going on with Instagram. It was taking forever to start it.
It's fine. Hi. I
How are
love
you
your
doing?
new hair.
Yes. Yeah, my hairdresser did something different. I'm
I love
enjoying
it.
it. How are
I-
you?
I'm
Oh,
good.
good.
Life's good on a Friday when you're going out to a concert. I'm very excited.
Absolutely. Very nice. Well, why don't
Yes.
you introduce yourself in case anyone doesn't know you?
Yes. So my name is Antje Sommer. I am an astrologer based in Brooklyn, New York. I'm originally from Germany. I love working with clients from everywhere. Have a lot of Sagittarius energy in my chart. I love traveling. I love being with people from all sorts of places. And yeah, that's also reflected in the way I work with clients from around the world. And yeah, I also not only really love the topic of midlife, transformation, and change. I think it's a topic we are not talking enough about because it's a very powerful time. But I also love astrocartography, so that's another focus of my work that I've been doing over the last couple of years.
Mhm. Wonderful. Yeah,
Mhm.
midlife transits are something, that's for
Mm.
sure.
Yeah,
And have you completed all of yours?
yes, I I am a happy midlife transit survivor.
Me too. I have done them. And it can be a lot, but
Mhm.
oh, there's so much growth that
Oh,
comes when you go through these transits when you're facing,
absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you experienced it, but I remember for me personally, the Pluto square,
Mm,
which happens interestingly for every generation at a different age
mm-hmm.
because of the elliptical cycle of the of Pluto. I had it, I think, when I was 37. The current generation has it around 40. Some are only having them at age 44. So it's really depending where and when and where your Pluto is in your chart.
Mm-hmm.
But I found that one to be the most profound, to be honest. And it's not a walk in the park, I would say, generally.
Yeah.
But
Do you have Pluto angular or where's your Pluto?
my Pluto is in the ninth house.
Oh.
So it was actually happening when I moved away from Berlin to London,
Mm-hmm.
interestingly. Um, and it's not angular, and it's actually nicely aspecting my sun in a sextile. So it's not a very dramatic Pluto, but oftentimes, and for everyone who is in the chat who is born in 84 or 85, you're currently having your Pluto square. Oftentimes, the Pluto square is then also coinciding with the Neptune
Yeah.
square. And that's, I think, the tricky part.
Yeah. So why don't we back it up and tell everybody
Yeah.
what the midlife transits are? And Joanna's asking what age is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, So the Pluto square, as I just mentioned, is somewhere between age 37 to 44. The younger generation, let's say, if you're born between 90 and 95, you are having them at a later age. So you're starting with a different, like the Uranus opposition. Usually, my generation and Celeste, probably yours as
Yes.
well. I started with the Pluto square, followed more or less directly with the Neptune square at around age 37, 38.
I was
Oh,
36 when
wow.
I had my Pluto square. When Pluto in the
Mm,
sky
mm,
and
mm.
is in an opening square to Pluto in your natal chart. And what do you see Pluto as? How do you describe Pluto?
So, Pluto is the planet of deep transformation,
Yeah.
excuse me, change and letting go processes. And the midlife transition, which is around, age 40 roughly,
Yeah.
37,
Yeah.
45-ish, it's a time where the clock starts, clicking backwards, right?
Yeah.
We are having a certain amount of time left on Earth. We might be in a job or in a situation, in a relationship we're not really happy about. So we kind of reevaluate and ask ourselves the questions that are a bit more existential, right?
Hmm.
And that is when you realize, oh, some things in my life might need to change, and either you're having an internal sort of realization, but oftentimes there's like manifestation is in your life.
Hmm.
You can be stuck in a situation that you need to change.
Yes. And Pluto can be like, well, what I experience, it's power
Hmm.
dynamics.
As well.
And it can be like a struggle of, and it can even be the terror. Like sometimes people get to this point in life and they feel like they're in a bit of a cage,
Hmm.
and they feel this internal subconscious drive to maybe burn everything down. It depends on the chart, or make
Yeah.
some big change, or fight fight some oppression, or having like your deepest concerns, like you start to feel, like you said, your longevity and
Hmm.
things coming up. Yeah. Yeah. So I have Pluto in my third house,
Oh.
and my Pluto square was getting married.
Oh,
Yeah, the
wow.
sixth house squaring the third house. And yeah, communication was a big power struggle in my marriage. I'm not married anymore. And it changes your routines and rituals, your whole daily life. And yeah,
Wow.
it was not for the faint of heart. And for some people it can be a really, really difficult time, especially when
Yeah.
it coincides with Neptune
Mm.
in a
Yeah.
square, because Neptune can be like, what am I doing? How did I get here in my
Hmm.
life? Oh my God, I want to make changes, but I don't know what I want to do. Da 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 da. Next thing people know, they've had an affair and they've blown up
Hmm.
their whole life. That can be something that comes up
Yeah.
with a Pluto square. What are some of the stories of you see with that Pluto Neptune kind of?
Well, often, I mean, really, it can be quite, well, something in your life comes to an end, whether
Hmm.
it's a behavior that you've outgrown, whether it's a relationship that doesn't work, whether it's power dynamics in the family, can
Yeah.
also be in the family of origin, right?
Hmm.
It can also be quite literal. Someone is
Hmm.
passing, especially when Pluto and Neptune both coinciding, and they're, like if you have a setup in the chart that is suggesting a more personal matter, you can lose someone during that time.
Hmm.
Um, so whatever it is, it's a process, and what I find with Pluto is it starts at a very subconscious level, and you cannot quite pin down what it's all about until the process starts. And it takes, Pluto square takes, 12 to 18 months. And
Mhm.
it's a square that you have 3 to 5 times, depending on, how the retrogrades are working out. So it's a really slow moving, formative process, right?
Yes.
Um, so what I find with Pluto is, once I can really say, and I've worked really with a lot of people that had their Pluto square, or that are in their Pluto square right
Mhm.
now. It's really a process that sets you up, and it's meant to set you up for the second half of your life. It's as simple, but it's not as simple as that. It sounds simple. It's obviously a huge, um, you know time to really really focus on, what do I want to bring into my life, who wanna do I want to spend my time with, what is my passion, what am I here, what is my purpose, all those questions.
I did a lot of like, what is my purpose
Hmm.
early on in my Pluto square. So Tiffany says, ended a
Hmm.
7-year relationship filled with power struggles and disempowerment
Oh,
in the Pluto square. So here's the
interesting.
story of
Hmm.
power struggles.
Hmm.
Pluto rules death and rebirth. So you lose, you kill part of something, like a relationship
Hmm.
ending is a death.
Hmm.
Yeah, and lost an uncle who was like a dad, a death,
Hmm.
yes,
Hmm.
and learned to manifest much better. Absolutely. Oh, and you an eighth house Pluto.
Oh,
So
wow. Hmm.
yeah,
That's intense stuff. Hmm.
yeah. So
Hmm.
it can be really intense, but I think one
Hmm.
of the keys is if you feel like, why am I doing what I'm doing? I don't know why. Like I'm self-sabotaging myself, or
Hmm.
like the shadows of stuff is coming up within you. It's a good time to maybe get an astrology reading, because it might be
Hmm.
the Pluto square, what you said, is so subconscious.
Hmm.
Ah,
Yeah.
I find do you want to say more about the Pluto or Neptune?
Um, yeah, I didn't want to erupt. You said something I find. What did you find? Didn't want to interrupt what you wanted to say.
Oh, I was going to go on to the Saturn
Oh,
and Uranus oppositions,
uh,
because those are
um,
really big ones too.
well, the Neptune, what I think, Neptune is really, it's also very subtle, but the
Mhm,
Neptune is really putting you in a sort of la la land where you like have no idea, who am I? What am I supposed to do with my life? It's really a time to pull the plug and to be more inwards, and to really, be more in meditation, or really like retreat even from too much. With a lot of
mhm,
Neptune, the outside can be too much to handle in a certain situation.
mhm,
So I assume that, especially when you have a strong Neptune in your chart, it's really about, resting and retreating.
mhm. And
And
what do you define as a strong Neptune or strong Pluto?
so, for example, if you have Pluto or Neptune conjunct the Sun, or any connection with the Sun, any connection with the Moon or another personal planet, Mercury, Venus,
Mhm,
Mars, etc., or on an angle, ascendant, descendant, midheaven, all of those are really strong, placements. So you feel, because in that case, not only you have the Pluto square, but then the Sun, for example, can be triggered. Your identity can shift and be completely questioned. Um, so in my case, I have a Sun, Neptune, Mars conjunction. So when I had Pluto and the Neptune square, it was really, a very big shift and a lot of question marks.
mhm,
Um, However, if you go, I think those two are probably the, in my view, are the more challenging ones,
mhm.
because once Uranus comes along, it's more, okay, I'm done with this. I'm doing what I need to do. Uranus is more in your face, and I have a breakthrough, and I do whatever I need to do to make it happen.
Ah, okay. So the Pluto and Neptune set you up for the Uranus. Yes, they do. Okay, so there's some comments here.
Hmm.
So Tiffany had Neptune square conjunct uh, first house Pisces moon.
Oh, wow.
So
Hmm.
yeah, so Pisces moon, and then um, and was hit by a drunk driver.
Oh,
Sometimes
wow. Yeah.
astrology is so
Hmm.
literal.
Wow.
Neptune rules alcohol and any
Yeah.
kind of escapist, drugs, or what
Hmm.
have you. And the first house is the ascendant,
Hmm.
so it's the physical body, and the moon also has to do with our physicality. And yeah, and being hit by like almost losing your life. Yeah, that's
Wow, that's really
definitely.
intense.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And Chris says unexpected divorce due to husband's infidelity when they were pregnant with the first child and had to embark on a new life as a single mother at 37. That is
Oh,
a
wow.
Pluto
Yeah.
Neptune square that takes you on the dark night of the soul. What am I going to do? How am I going to pay for all these things? How am I going to survive this? Feeling disempowered, feeling lost, feeling like, how did I get here? How did this happen? And his probably Pluto Neptune square was, or maybe it was older and it was more like Saturn and or Uranus was having like wanting freedom or whatever and having some kind of affair. So it's so yeah, so in line with or the new sports car or what have you.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Uranus opposition, which happens around 42, 44, often coincides with a separation of
Yes.
some sort,
Hmm.
whether it's the job or the marriage or partnership, whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
because Uranus is the great liberator and it can bring in shocks and awe. And yeah, when it's opposite you, something opposite your natal Uranus, something comes in. My mother passed because I have Uranus, excuse
Bless
me,
you.
at my IC. So the home, family, and foundations. And then opposite, my mother passed. And then I also got divorced. So
Oh, wow.
absolutely. But it was a break that was freeing. So yeah.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I mean, I think that what we don't have to forget is with every ending, there's a new beginning.
Hmm.
And if you want to bring new things into your life, you need to go through that process of letting go and like leaving things behind that are no longer in line with who you are and what you're meant to do in this life, right?
Hmm.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Hmm. So what are some of the things you tell people to how to prepare or what to how to recognize? What do you do with these transits?
So, um, I actually created a midlife transit group last year just
Hmm.
to work with this age group in a group setting. Because when I had my Uranus, my midlife transits in general, I would have loved to be more connected with other people that have the same kind of processes they go through. So I created this group online, and everyone, we would, you know, um, talk about the transit. And then also, I usually incorporated a meditation where you work with the energy of the planet to sort of, with Pluto, the letting go process, etc. And then we would, share each other's story. And I mean, no one in the group had an easy Pluto square year. I mean, it's a fact. But that's what I love about the group work is, when you share, you're connecting, your souls are connecting, right? You're like, that you're not alone, basically.
Yes. What are some of the stories that you can share without violating any confidentiality about
Um,
what you've seen people go through in your groups about having a Pluto square
so there was
or
definitely,
whatever?
there were identity
Hmm.
crises. Who am I? What am I supposed to do? There were also cultural crises, so people that were born in a certain country with a very different culture, and they moved, for example, to the States, and they obviously had the family from a different culture, so there was this cultural clash, and like, you need to sometimes let go of a little bit of your cultural identity in order to really arrive into a new country. And it's very challenging because you have the parents and the siblings, etc. Separations is a very common, or loss of a loved one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it can also be like, ultimately, what I think, what especially after Pluto, what we are in a process when we've gone through all the squares, we feel empowered. It starts with a sense of feeling powerless, but by
Mm-hmm.
the end of the Pluto square or any other Pluto transit, if it's hitting your sun, moon, or anything else, it starts in a very powerless place. But by the end of it, you're taking your decisions and you're taking whatever it takes to get rid of certain things of your life, and then you're feeling empowered because you took those decisions, right?
Yes. Yeah, I
Um,
changed jobs at the end. Was that the end of my Pluto square? That might have been my Neptune square. Yeah.
mhm, mhm,
Where
mhm.
I felt like, yeah, it was
One
time
one
to.
second, the Pisces cat once. We talked too much about Neptune. Now the Pisces cat couldn't take it anymore.
It's like, get me out of here.
Too much
So
Neptune.
Neptune is the planet the most astrologers I've heard say, I hate Neptune. What is your relationship with Neptune? I kind of like Neptune in some ways.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Sun Neptune conjunction,
Yeah.
so
In
I have to be
Sagittarius?
friends with it.
In
Huh?
Sagittarius?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah, 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 yeah. So, I have to say, I love Neptune for the creativity and the connection to spirituality and the outer worldly, states that I can have in a meditation, that someone that probably doesn't have a strong Neptune has to really practice a lot more to get to a meditative state.
Mm.
Um, so I feel that what I usually don't have troubles into getting into a meditative state,
Yeah.
especially in a group
Yeah.
setting. Neptune conjunct in 11,
Ah.
yeah, or with music and stuff like that, like other modalities. But I would say, for anyone who loves arts and music, Neptune is your friend,
Mhm.
really. A lot of musicians have very strong Neptunes, a lot of artists. But it's true that in my younger
Poets.
years, huh?
Poets.
Poets, yeah, writers. In the younger years, I think with a strong Neptune, you really need to watch your alcohol, drugs, and all that escapism techniques. Like now, it's also probably internet addiction or games addictions and stuff like that. That can be the challenges. But
Mhm.
with every planet, there is a light and the shadow side, right?
Yes. Yes, yes. Yeah, there was years ago where it was all about porn addictions. That was
That's
probably
right.
the Neptune square in Aquarius, maybe. Some people were
Ah,
dealing with Neptune. I'm on the internet,
mm-hmm.
and their natal Neptune would be in Scorpio, like losing myself in this
Ah,
fantasy
yeah,
world of sex and, yeah, porn and whatnot.
yeah,
Or
that
video games
makes sense.
or whatever. Yeah, and Neptune's getting ready to go into Aries. So do you know what year people with Neptune
Yeah.
in
Um, so you mean when
Capricorn,
they have
the Neptune Capricorn that are getting
yeah,
ready to have their Neptune square?
yeah, so that's the folks born in 1985, late 85 or 86.
Mm.
They are sort of probably already feeling the start of the buildup,
Yeah.
because that's also something, the buildup is quite, can last 2 or 3 months, like before the first even exact square, because it's so slow. I feel that the buildup is often the most intense time. And then, I think that the beauty with every so slow moving transit is that first square is usually when everybody is like, oh, I have no idea what this is all about. And by the second, third time, you're kind of, okay. And that's where I think the beauty in astrology comes. Your astrologer is there to guide you through those
Hmm.
processes,
Yeah.
right? And often, very often this year, actually, I had already people with the Neptune square, and they had no idea what's going on. And it was such a relief to hear, oh, that's why. No.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the beauty about the transit work, that you really know, okay, by the end of this year or so, you will see a lot clearer. So don't stress yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just knowing what's going on can be so helpful.
Yeah.
But it's so interesting the time we're in because Neptune and Capricorn, people who have that, who are getting ready to have their Neptune square, but Neptune stays in the same sign for 14 years. So depending, it might
Mhm.
be just getting started. But the dissolving of the governments of the
Mhm.
world, corporations, the alliances, all of this stuff going on is having an impact on people's feelings of survival. Aries can be survival or
Yeah.
just how can I take my own actions in a time of so much unknown stuff
Yeah,
going
that's gonna be a very interesting shift. And I mean, it's coming up at the end of the month.
on.
So, um, yeah, the people with a lot of late Pisces placements are, probably in a very similar state than the ones that having an actual, well, having the square, because it's like a double whammy. You're wrapping up the Pisces Neptune phase, and you have the square
Ah,
coming up. So it's like, yeah, it's probably very foggy.
so here's the questions. How
Hmm.
will I think the question is how will Neptune in Aries affect other fire signs? Manifestors wants to know.
Mm.
So
So,
Neptune's going into Aries, and it might be nice for Leos
mhm,
and
yeah,
and
well,
Sagittarius
yeah,
is
yeah,
feeling like, ooh, this sense of creativity or
yeah.
free flowing. Now it could be you have to watch your boundaries a little bit, watching out for. I just see like that water rolling down the hill towards like it can be it can be a trickle or it can also feel like a tsunami of emotions all of a sudden
That's
coming up
right.
within you where you're feeling I feel like it's going to be a lot of people having the feeling like their personal will Aries the I am ability being dissolved somewhat
Mm-hmm.
no matter where you are what country you're in and especially for fire signs who are like I'm just going to go do this bop, bop, feeling like a sense of a little bit of powerlessness
Mm-hmm.
as well with
Yeah, it's like a little bit almost that the ego of the Aries, which is a sign that is, very powerful, very driven, very energetic, is like the ego might dissolve a little bit.
mm-hmm.
And I mean, that's not going to happen overnight. No, this year I think Neptune is not going further than 1.5 to 2
Yeah.
degrees or so. So it's only like the very early Aries folks and other cardinal signs for them, for that matter. For the Leo and Sagittarius, I think it will indeed be probably a really creative and spiritual phase.
hmm Yeah, the search for meaning is what I'm
Hmm.
getting. Yeah, it's
Hmm.
coming to my midheaven. What do you have to say about that? I
Oh,
mean, I know what I think is.
interesting.
Mm.
The midheaven. So is
Well,
it
I'm
come?
really working on my psychic
Hmm.
downloads,
Hmm.
and I share them.
Hmm. Well,
But it's
that's,
like, and what
I
will
mean, that.
happen, I'll start getting little things, and over time, it builds up in the
Mm.
nuggets into the story, but it's something I'm still working on understanding it. And
That's so cool. I mean, that's, I think, a great outlet. If you like proactively use that to channel.
mhm, that's what I'm
Um,
doing. Yeah. And I
mhm.
got that flights were going to be grounded in Florida, and Elon
That's so
blew up
crazy.
his rocket and it grounded flights. I think that's going to be a big story of the eclipse. Like,
Mhm.
I haven't been on the news today, but I think that's a big deal.
Yeah, I'm
People
so,
are, it's like this feeling like, okay, these
yeah.
planes falling out of the sky is so, oh, and that's Icarus. Ah, the new moon
Oh,
in Aquarius was conjunct Icarus, who
oh,
flew too close to the sun, and his
wow.
wings melted and he fell into the sea. Now, it didn't happen till after the the Pisces new moon, but I feel like whatever they miscalculated wrong, or
Mhm.
bolt they didn't tighten, or whatever went wrong with that rocket probably went seated in the Aquarius lunation cycle.
Mm.
And but
Mm.
it
Interesting.
occurred now.
It's fascinating, Celeste, that you channeling more the downloads for the mundane,
Yes.
world and, politics and all that. So I am channeling also. I'm channeling a lot for my clients and
Uh-huh.
friends.
I
That's,
do that too. Yeah.
yeah. So that's how I sometimes, especially in Pisces season, it hasn't started yet, but sometimes in Pisces season, I'm like constantly, and I'm like, okay, can I tell that to that person? Is the person ready or not? Because sometimes you are with messages that you just, sometimes I keep them to myself because sometimes people are not there
Oh
to
yeah.
hear.
I got one I should have kept to myself a while ago. Yes, 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 yes. Yeah. Well, if you get anything about me and my Neptune on my midheaven, uh,
Yeah, so now
let
that you
me
will
know.
share that with me, I will let you know. And
Yes.
definitely, I mean, Neptune on the midheaven, quite honestly, will probably give you a lot of new ideas as well of how you want to run your business. And
Mhm.
maybe some of the things that you thought as super important are just dissolving.
Absolutely. Well, I'm a Taurus, and my
Hmm.
whole, I spent all that time in corporate and
Hmm.
was so focused on, and I was in sales, so focused
Hmm.
on manifesting money and whatnot, and just letting go of like, and really feeling like I will always have what I need,
Hmm.
and
Yep.
letting go. And this has been, but I think that was more Uranus going over my Taurus planets,
Hmm.
letting go of that identity about like what your value, like your bank account being so.
Hmm.
I mean, of course, it's important, but
Yeah. Yeah, but I
not
think
need.
also that's what I love about aging, the
Mm-hmm.
wisdom of, you know, that you gain every year with every new experience. And also, I mean, I don't know, when did you started your astrology business? Which year?
2021. Well, 2020. I started it in 2020, but I
Wow.
quit my
That's
corporate job in
that's
2021.
not a long time. That's only like 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And look what
Mm-hmm.
you've built in that time. It's really fascinating. Well
Mm-hmm.
done, Taurus.
Oh. Thank you. Oh, I have Saturn on my sun.
Oh,
I know how to work. I know
that
how to
makes
work.
sense.
It's to my own detriment. I know how
So,
to manifest. I'll tell you that. Yes. Okay. Here's a good question.
uh-huh.
How common are illnesses for a Neptune square, especially with Neptune and Aries? And they're worried about the physical body. Sacred Wild wants to know.
That's a good question.
Mm.
I'm not, illnesses are not my forte, I have to say. I'm not, have you studied medical astrology? I
A
have never
little bit.
studied.
I know a
Yeah,
little bit about medical astrology. I would
yeah.
be more looking at an illness if your natal Neptune or Neptune is coming to your first house, which is the vitality, or sixth house,
Mhm.
which is the house of illness. So if you have Neptune in Capricorn and you're having a Neptune square in um, Neptune in Aries, well, just notice Aries rules the head,
Mm.
and notice if anything comes up. But I wouldn't. I think it's more for most people. It's more psychological.
Yeah.
But if Neptune's touching one of your personal planets, or like I said, in the first or sixth house, it might have something to do with some kind of, because especially if Neptune's squaring your sun, that
Mhm.
can literally be
Yeah.
weakening. That's what I'd be more concerned about with Neptune, weakening your vitality. When Neptune was squaring my Mercury, I thought I was getting Alzheimer's.
Oh my God, that's horrible.
Neptune and
I've
Aries
had that
square.
square
I
as
just
well.
kept forgetting things. Yeah, I had a year or so where I was like, what is wrong with me?
I'm just wrapping up that, I just wrapped up the transit. And I also, I mean, I think it's also when you're in the middle-aged women, I mean, with hormonal changes and all that stuff, that is not helpful. But yeah, I my husband would go crazy because he would tell me stories or things, and I would then say, I've never heard of this before,
Uh,
which in
it's
my
like,
mind, yeah, was just like gone. What I wanted to say with the Neptune and the illnesses, what I found, a lot of people, when they have their square, are just more tired. They need more rest, more retreat, more downtime, soul time. And also, you can have a year where you are prone to more like anything that is airborne, like, any kind of bacteria or viruses. Your immune system sometimes can get a bit of a hit with the Neptune square, especially when the Neptune is aspecting, Mars or the Sun or some like important points in your chart. Yeah.
yeah. And this year, it's so important for us. And
Hmm.
I know this as well. And I could do better, but taking care of our health
Yeah.
because the South Node is in Virgo. So there's a drain on health just generally.
Mm.
And we got all kinds of diseases popping back. The flu
So
is really
crazy.
bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Measles is looking like it's going to be I don't know what you call it, but like coast to coast epidemic, would it be? Or not pandemic, it would be a pandemic.
Hopefully not.
Yeah.
It's really fascinating to me because I know in New York City, if you don't have a measles vaccination, your child is not attending school.
Okay.
I mean, it's like the MMRI is like if you're not having it, they really can make you have it
Okay.
in a public school.
Yeah.
I don't know about private schools though.
Yeah. Because
Um,
I just heard measles is in New York City.
Oh, fun. We are
That
all
was yesterday.
vaccinated.
Okay,
So
so yeah,
hopefully,
most people in New York are probably vaccinated,
yeah.
but there's a large contingents of people in the country
Well,
who
and
may
in
not
New
be.
York, I think the Hasidic community might not be vaccinated.
Ah,
So there are certain religions that are not necessarily vaccinating.
okay.
So, that can be a little bit of a problem. That was also the same during COVID. That
Yeah.
was not easy.
Mhm.
Um, what else did I the other transit that we haven't touched upon, which also happened happens, later, usually around 44, 46, is the Saturn opposition.
Hmm. That's a big one.
And the Saturn opposition is often like a sort of test. Do all these changes that I've done over the last couple of years, do they actually work? Or was I in a Neptunian fog and there are some illusions coming up that
Mhm.
are like now, reality hits sometimes with Neptune, especially in the opposition and in the return, I would say. Um, so, yeah, it's often a sort of test of, okay, what does work and what is not working?
Mhm.
Where do I need to make adjustments? Um, um, and it's another transit that is, usually you have it 2, 3 times, so it's taking, 12 months or so.
Mhm.
Um, and by the end of that, that is like the last hooray, I would say, for the midlife transits. And then
Mhm.
you have a little bit of time until your Chiron return.
Mhm. Yeah, and the Saturn opposition, depending on your chart, can be really tough
Mm-hmm.
because Saturn's controls, limits, rejects,
Mm-hmm.
excludes. So there can be something like losing a job or
Mm-hmm.
having to separate from something that you wanted to. Now, sometimes this is something you do on your own, but sometimes it feels like it's coming from outside. Well, oppositions come in for outside of ourselves, whereas squares a lot of times are more internal. Yeah. Oh, Manifestor says it's never a bad thing when fire signs ego takes a couple of steps down. Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, and what I also um, think with Saturn is I have a Saturn rule chart. I'm a Capricorn
Mhm.
rising, Venus in Capricorn. So Saturn is my friend in a way.
Me too.
However,
With Saturn on my
yeah,
sun, I have no
yeah.
choice.
But I find with Saturn, although there can be restrictions and hardship and, bad awakenings, but the thing with Saturn is if you do the work, you get the reward in the end.
Absolutely.
It's like,
Earn success. That's
yeah,
Saturn. You
you
work
put in the
hard and
work. Yeah. So I think from that point of view, um, you can really work with that energy. However, maybe if you're having a square or even with the Sun Saturn conjunction, that is obviously a lot more painful. I have a Sun trine Saturn, so
mhm.
yeah, that's probably one of the like yeah, Saturn for me is probably a little easier than for this conjunction.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Um, do we have any other questions?
Well, Savantra commented that this Pisces season, I'm so
Mm,
tired. Well, it's eclipse
mm,
season,
yeah, yeah,
and the North Node conjunct Neptune, that's
mhm,
just amplifying
yeah.
the the loss of vitality. So I think that's why this Pisces season feels like no other. Plus the retrogrades. I mean,
Mm,
the energy right now is so funky.
mhm,
It's really a time to go within
mhm,
and ground and do all the good things, get extra rest if you can.
mhm.
But there's so much bombarding us from outside of ourselves. It's hard to, it can
Yeah,
be
I
hard.
think
You need to be very disciplined to be able to handle all of this upheaval and craziness and
yeah,
reversals and
yeah.
delays. And it's like we're on a roller coaster, like the Twilter. Don't you feel that? Do you feel it?
It's really I really disciplined myself this year. Not every night, but most nights I put my phone away at 9 p.m. Finished. Book out, doing something else, watching a show, whatever, but phone away because otherwise it's not helping me fall asleep.
Yes, yeah. And I stopped. Like, I am not allowed to pick it up after a certain time
Yeah.
because there's been a couple times where all of a sudden I see something. It's like, what
No,
the ever loving.
no,
I just can't. I just
no.
can't. I can't
It's
participate
it's
in
it's
the
too much.
nonsense. Yeah.
It's too much.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to mention is that Lisa Borman and
Oh, yes.
um,
Please.
we are putting, or we have put together a weekend retreat in Tucson because we wanted to work specifically with women who are going through the midlife crisis or whatever you want to call it, to create a container of growth and connection. And we have created a weekend of not only astrological wisdom, but also sound baths, meditation, and
Oh,
yoga.
nice.
Yeah.
When is it?
It's April 25th to April
In
27th.
Tucson.
And I mean, it's gonna be lovely, like 80 degrees in Tucson, so not too hot, desert blooming. I'm really excited to go back.
And how do people find out about how to sign up or whatever?
Um, you can go to lisavorman.com, and I will put it in my stories probably too, so that people can check out the details. But lisavorman.com has all the details on her website. And yeah, I think it's going to be a really, really lovely container for people who want to, work in the group and exchange their stories and support each other. I think especially as women, we need to really stick together more than ever.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you may want to add something about self-defense in there
Oh,
because it's
that's a great
Neptune
idea.
in Aries and then Saturn's going into Aries. And so how
Oh,
like really get your
yeah,
yeah, protecting yourself from all of this. There's so much misogynistic
yeah,
stuff
yeah,
that's
yeah.
going to be like really coming up with Neptune and Saturn and Aries and like the what do you call it? Romanticizing
Mhm.
the strong man energy. Savantra has Neptune and Cap in the first
Mhm.
and a triple fire sign. And wondering how Neptune square will impact them. So Neptune in Aries is in your fourth house.
Mhm.
Mm, all that fire. It could be really beautiful, I think, with like developing a deeper relationship with your spiritual practices is what I'm getting from that. What do you think? Because you're aware,
Yeah.
you're thinking about it, you're conscious, and you're a spiritual person. So while there may be some feelings of loss, or maybe an elder in your family maybe like weakening or getting older and all
Mhm.
of that kind of stuff, which makes you feel your longevity, but
Yeah,
but
the fourth house, that could be if Neptune is transiting the fourth house. Um, I would be a little bit wary about any kind of water damage.
yes,
Yeah. So if you have a sort of like indication there could be some mold or whatever, track twice or three times with Neptune transiting the fourth house.
hmm
Yeah, that can be one of the manifestations. But if you have a lot of fire planets, the trines to Neptune will be definitely be a big enhancement for spiritual practice, for creativity, pick up something that you were working on creatively or writing.
yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. Okay, let me see if there are any other questions. I think
And
Neptune. Okay, we got that from Savantra. Yeah.
and that kind of girl says, I can teach a course on psychic self-defense. Wow, that's interesting.
Yes, that's
That's really cool. Yeah,
ah.
you can
Maybe
feel,
Tiffany, maybe we'll talk about that. If you want to talk about that on my program, email me or like DM me, and we can we can maybe talk about that. Yeah. Or
Yeah.
just give some tools. Yes, I love that. Yeah. Because I think we really need to protect our energy. I certainly
Mm-hmm.
do. And
Mm-hmm.
I have, because I've been having little mini meltdowns, I'm not going to lie. But last night I had a breakthrough. And part of the
Oh.
reason I'm having a difficult time with all of this is because my Pluto is being eclipsed. And it's in my third house of the mind. So Pluto brings up
Oh.
all the terror. It's like, oh my God, the worst possible thing that could happen.
Oh, you should
And
have a
they're messing
complete
around in
detox.
they're messing around with the
Mm-hmm.
markets and the Social Security and all of this stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, is is driving me crazy because if they mess around and mess up my 401k and all this other kind of stuff, I am going to be apoplectic,
Mm-hmm.
which it looks like they probably are. But anyway, let me not even worry about that. But it's tough as a Taurus.
It
Yeah.
is.
And I
I
wrote a
have my
post
moon in Taurus.
and people, depending on your
Yeah.
sign, you'll
Mm-hmm.
have a different
Mm-hmm.
concern
Yeah.
about what is concerning you about the state of affairs of the world. Yeah, depending on your chart.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
But
What is
you
your
could,
big concern? Can you share what, like, as a
um,
Sagittarius with Neptune on your sun, like what?
well, to be honest, my biggest concern, especially being German, is
Oh,
like re-seeing things that
baptism.
we've gone through in Germany. But
Mhm.
ultimately,
Well, me
and
too about the.
I ultimately, I've reflected on this week, and I've shared it also on my Instagram. When in 1939 Pluto was in Leo, and it was, a lot of really egocentric, egomanic leaders around in Europe, particularly. And with now Pluto in Aquarius, I strongly believe this is not sustainable in it. I don't believe it's gonna last for a long time.
I don't either. Pluto and Aquarius, and we're seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
People coming together, like
Mm-hmm.
Canada. You're
Mm-hmm.
like coming all together
Mm-hmm.
and boycotting American stuff,
Mm-hmm.
canceling trips to the like coming together as a country, and it's reinvigorating their sense of patriotism,
Mm-hmm.
fighting against a bully.
Mm-hmm.
Aquarius is opposite Leo.
Yeah.
And in Europe, NATO and all that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
realizing, okay, we're not going to sit around and wait. We are recognizing that the alliances with Venus retrograde are changing. In the United States, we just can't rely on anymore. So they're making all kinds of changes, which probably they should have done a while ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
overdue, but now
Mm-hmm.
it's like at a time, yeah. But I think the group and in the Middle East, there's something going on where a bunch of Middle Eastern countries like Egypt and
Mm-hmm.
Saudi Arabia, blah, 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 they're all coming together to
Mm-hmm.
find a solution for Gaza that
Mm-hmm.
allows people to stay there against turning it into a beach resort kind of
Yeah, I think the
proposal.
beach, I think honestly, the beach resort, I don't take it as,
I would
it was just,
nobody's taking that seriously,
yeah,
really, except for the fact it's a horror to
yeah,
even suggest it, and it could be
it,
motivating
yeah,
people to do
yeah,
terrorism. I mean, it's
that's
so
right.
outrageous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but I don't know. I had a very strong intuition early on after the election that also the whole duet with Trump and Musk, there is like you cannot put two narcissists together. Like that alliance will not be sustainable either.
Well, my
So
understanding is that oh, I got to get going from I go to the vet, but my understanding is that there's elections, special elections in Florida could flip the house.
mm,
And
mm,
after he just blew that rocket up, debris falling everywhere, there were people in a plane who saw that thing blowing up and probably thought they were going to crash. I mean, I think this is a big deal,
Mm.
more than, yeah, and I think it's a big deal psychologically for people
Yeah,
that this crazy
yeah.
person, chainsaw, this chainsaw massacre person is going to get us all killed with his nonsense,
Well, I
firing the
have to say
FAA. Yeah.
one last thing that I've worked in the music business for 10 years. I've worked with people on cocaine. And when I saw the chainsaw thing, I was like, this dude is on something, whatever it is.
Ketamine. He talks about how he likes to do ketamine.
Yeah, but I think like that, ketamine is like a sedative. So ketamine does anything else. Like it's a, it's a
Oh,
prescription.
that's right. It's horse
Yeah,
tranquilizer. Yeah,
yeah.
that's right.
So I think it would be something like an upper or something
Ah,
that is making you very, very crazy. And I mean, he's just maybe even, he's just blowing something up within himself right now.
his
And
Pluto is
the
being eclipsed too. He's
oh,
thought to be a Cancer
he
rising like me.
he is a Cancer
Hmm.
rising. Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
he is. Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh yeah. Well then,
So it's in
good
his third
luck.
house, and in the things he's saying,
Mm,
he is destroying Tesla.
hmm
He is the SpaceX shit is blowing up all
hmm
over the place. Excuse my language.
hmm
He's destroying the United States government, like firing all these people, and then the nuclear plant.
hmm
They fired people from a nuclear plant, and then now trying to get them back. I hope these people are back at work.
Yeah. Hopefully.
I'll make mistakes. I make mistakes. It's just as good to happen. Oh, I can't wait for this. Can't wait for the reckoning because Pluto can humble and humiliate. Yes, yes, yeah. People in
Yeah.
Canada hate him. I think people around the world hate
hmm
him.
hmm Yeah.
He has ruined his reputation with a lot of people. I'm sure there's still bros that think he's so great, but
Yeah.
I think that they have. Um, yeah, yeah. Oh, I'm so glad you like this, Tiffany. Okay. Yeah, we'll see. He's going to get his comeuppance. Yeah, I think by April 1st, that's when those special elections are. We'll
That's
see.
right.
We'll
Yeah.
see.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, ketamine is for neutering and such. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's probably on
Ketamine is
something
also
else.
used in the emergency rooms for
Ooh.
like to tranquilize. Yeah.
Ah.
So yeah, it's a very interesting phase we're in. I'm so glad that you are covering all of this, Celeste. I'm following you very closely on the mundane stuff. Thank you
Oh,
for
thank
that.
you. Thanks. Yeah, things are coming. You know what? Yeah, there- I'm keeping the faith, even though I intermittently falling apart.
Yeah, and
But
I give you a tip: stop the iPhone after a
yes,
certain time, before an hour before you go to bed,
oh,
for your
longer than
sanity.
that.
Yeah,
I'm
for your
getting better. There's
sanity.
been a couple of nights where I'm like, I'm not even looking at it.
Yeah, that's very smart.
Yes. Well, oh, I got to get
Yeah.
Devo to the vet. So
Thank
thank you so
you for
much.
having me.
Yes, this was great. I will make you a collaborator, and people can look at. Are you going to put in a link in your
Yeah,
bio about the?
I
Yeah,
will. Yeah,
yeah. Put a
I
link in
will.
your bio about the course in
Yeah,
Tucson. Okay. Are you going
exactly.
to Norwalk?
Yes, I
Okay.
will.
I'll see you there.
Yes, I will.
Well, we'll be in touch, but
Yes.
yeah. Okay. Talk
Bye.
to you
Have a
soon.
lovely weekend.
You too. Thanks
Bye.
everyone for joining. Bye.